Welcome back, my lovely law humans. We are talking about today is March 1st, and I am talking about what happened on Thursday and Friday, so day 4 and 5 respectively of the Kouri Richards trial. So this is the end of day 4 that I'm going to start with. And we have cross-examination of Carmen Lauber, the person who had flipped, who was the drug dealer, the go-between person to get the drugs to Kouri Richards. And she said that she was riddled with guilt, and that's why she turned herself in. Well, on cross-examination, Miss Lewis did nothing but tick me off, tick the court off, and just everybody's mad. Everybody's mad. Because what the court did was they brought 3 binders, unlabeled binders, by the way, and just dropped them off in front of Carmen. And they were like, we're going to see if what you said matches your interviews. Now, Carmen had said that she had about 10 interviews, or like a lot of interviews before her trial, with various law enforcement officers, detectives, etc. And the defense had started out by saying, what was the highest level of schooling that she had? And she said that she had started doing drugs in around 6th grade and she dropped out shortly after. So somewhere in middle school is her highest level of education. And then she had said, then they went into asking her about her testimony. And the court, the judge had to correct Miss Lewis so many times, saying, you need to ask a question. The prosecution twice had to go, there's no question pending, Your Honor, because lawyers are not allowed to monologue. What they say is not evidence. They're there to ask questions to get whatever they're trying to get out through a witness. What the witness says, the way they answer, is evidence. Their testimony is evidence, not what the lawyer says. But sometimes Miss Lewis was just going, you did this, you said this, and everyone's going, what's the question? What's the question? And she really ticked me off at one point when she had said, you asked law enforcement to write out a statement for you and you would sign it. And Carmen said, no, that's not what happened. Yes, it is. No, it's not. I asked them, I said if they wanted me to write my statement out, and I asked if they could write the statement, that my statement out instead of me, and I would sign it. And it's because she doesn't have a high literacy thing. She wanted somebody to just do, like, be a temporary secretary for her, essentially. Just, you could write what I say and then I'll sign it, because she didn't want to write it out herself because, it's going to be shown to other people. She doesn't have good spelling. She doesn't have good grammar. And she's just not comfortable and good at writing statements out. And Ms. Lewis said, no, you did not. You told them, write what you want me to say and I'll sign it. And that's what's in your transcript, isn't it? And she's like, no. The way it went down, Carmen said, that's not what's written down. And the prosecution said, objection. And Miss Lewis goes, to what? And it says, there's no question pending. And the judge goes, there is no question pending. And she goes, I'll say it in a nicer tone. And the judge goes, no, you will ask a question. It happened so many times. It happened about 7 times in 15 minutes, where Miss Lewis would say, you said this before, and that's what's in the transcript. And then when they actually read the transcript, what Miss Lewis says was there and what was actually there are not the same. So guess who comes out looking more credible there? Is it the defense attorney who's trying to impeach and call this witness out? Or is it the witness? Then, when they broke at the end of the day, for day 4, we also find out the jury leaves the room. They're still on the record. And the judge says, there was a note given to me today. And I'm going to summarize here. But one of the jurors had sent a bailiff a note to give to the judge that said that they thought they saw somebody sketching the jurors. They were concerned about it and didn't think that was allowed. Or if it was, how was that okay? So the judge was like, Okay, so the bailiffs walked around and they found that, yes, there was indeed somebody in the gallery, somebody in the audience, sketching the jurors and identifying them by their numbers. That's not okay. That person was kicked out and banned, and the sketchbook was confiscated, and the drawings were destroyed. And one of the bailiffs made sure to inform the jurors that the problem had been taken care of. Then we got the leaked text message woman, Anna Isbell. Anna Isbell is Hayden's partner. Hayden, who was actually supposed to be on the stand, but had sadly passed away from a motorcycle accident. And in the leaked text messages that we talked about before, I'll pop one of them up on the screen, where she was like, I don't want to be prepped. And the detective was like, if I have to go there with a warrant and a dog pull next time, I will. And she had said she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be prepped. She was just like, what day do I need to be there? And he goes, it's on your subpoena. And she's like, is there more of an exact date, or do I need to be there every day for 5 weeks? He's like, we could have talked about that before. So expect to be there every day at 8. She didn't want to be there. When she was told, good morning, she was like, no response. She didn't want to be there at all. She was ticked. And the reason she was there was just to say that she overheard on speakerphone Hayden talking to Kouri about Kouri asking for fentanyl, and Hayden going, F that, fentanyl, F no. And that was the whole reason she was there. She made a big stint over literally nothing, because she was on the stand for a total of like 10 minutes. Most of which was the Peaching defense team not being organized. They were trying to go, oh, witness intimidation, and really it was just not that. Anna Isbell also claimed that she never threatened to sick her dog on the cop or whatever, but that her dog is protective. We don't know how big the dog is. We didn't see a picture of the dog. We don't know what breed of dog it is. We just know she has a dog. And that the detective said that if she wasn't cooperative, the next time he knocked on her door, he would bring a catch pole for the dog. And in case you're wondering, the prep stuff that they were more than likely going to talk to her about was what was court-appropriate attire, where she could park, where she had to wait, if she needed to bring her own lunch, etc. Just logistic stuff. Was Robert Crozier. Yes, the guy who was the druggie. Now, this guy came up, or the drug dealer. This guy came up, and his statement has changed multiple times, okay? He asked what he remembered, which honestly wasn't much. He said that he was on a lot of drugs, and at the time he had been clean for a while now, but he was like, I don't remember these people. I couldn't tell you a name. I couldn't tell you a date. They were like, do you remember Carmen? And he goes, I think that she was Mexican, but I don't really remember. Like, she stayed in her car. Like, I handed her pills. She handed me cash. And he goes, and they were like, were you doing a lot of drug dealing at the time? And he said, like, 3 or 4 people. I don't consider that a lot. And he said that he called Roxy's. He was selling OxyContin and not fentanyl at the beginning of 2022. And that Oxy were called Roxy's, but Oxy was also called Blues. And then later on, in late 2022, although he says it was May 2022. Is May 2022 late to any of you? Let me know. And he was like, after May, he started calling fentanyl Blues. And he also had admitted that fentanyl and Oxy look very similar. They're bluish pills. And that people were dying because they thought they were getting Roxy's and getting fentanyl. And it wasn't his. He said that he was selling some Oxy's from a prescription he was getting. But when he had sold the Carmen, he knew a guy. And he had a few guys. He's the guy who knows a guy. And so he went to his guy's house, and he's saying, yeah, he had a prescription for Oxy's. I sold oxycodone. And it's like, okay, so if Oxy's were Roxy's, why were Roxy's also Blues? And How do you know that you weren't getting fentanyl? Now Robert Crozier may very well 100% believe that he was selling and intending to sell oxycodone. But he doesn't know if that's what it was because they don't do any testing. Like, you got pills, I got cash, just like Carmen said. He was insisting that he did not sell fentanyl in February of 2022. I think it's more like he didn't intend or realize he sold fentanyl in early 2022 because he admitted that the drug he was trying to get off of when he was getting clean in 2023 was fentanyl. And that they look similar, like they're small bluish green pills. So he's on drugs himself. And it was 4 years ago. And then we find out all the crap that Miss Lewis gave to Carmen Lauber. And with Robert Crozier, we find out that she typed up his new affidavit. His original one that he gave to law enforcement, he had said that he had sold fentanyl. Then he said, no, I didn't sell fentanyl. And to me, what it really read was, this is a man who was trying really hard to distance himself from death. He doesn't want to be the guy who sold pills that ended in somebody else dying. He doesn't want to cop a murder charge, okay? That's what he's not trying to do right now. And he also has immunities for telling the truth. Now, when Carmen was on the stand and this was brought up, Miss Lewis was like, oh, and the prosecution gets to decide what the truth is. And Carmen was like, no, I don't know who determines the truth. It's the jury, by the way. As long as her statement stays consistent, it's going to be considered true. And the same with Robert Crozier. But she wrote up his affidavit. Oh, I'm sorry that when Carmen asked the law enforcement to write up her statement, because she wasn't comfortable with writing, she was a pawn. She was just doing what they said. Anything to throw Kouri under the bus. But Robert Crozier, when Miss Lewis is the one typing up his affidavit form because he's not comfortable with that, well, that just makes sense. Immediate, obvious hypocrisy. Honestly, I don't think that man knew what he was saying then, what he was saying now. He's been clean for a while now. Congratulations, sir. And Carmen has also been clean for many years. Congratulations, madam. But he was way more out of it then, and he seemed out of it now because a lot of his answers were, I really don't remember. He was getting stuff from multiple guys who had stuff. So I don't trust that he knew one way or the other.